Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute little 3D stuffed monkey, and you're going to need 145 single rubber bands, and you're going to need some cotton balls or some old rubber bands to stuff them with, and you can also make the hands stick together if you want, and you can do that at the beginning, but mine are apart. So let's get started. Let's start by making the arms and the legs, and here I made 3 already, and I'm going to make one with you, so you'll need to pause the video to make 3 more. So taking a single band, coming from the first to the second peg, and the rest will come down with 2 single rubber bands 4 times. Now let's cap the end peg with a single band by looping it once to create 2 loops like that, and repeat one more time with another single band, looping it once. And this makes the fingers and the toes extra long. Go under the cap band, grab the bottom 2 bands, and hold the top cap bands down and loop up and onto itself, creating the teardrop, and just keep looping up. The last one is a single band, and this will be attached to a body, and take it off the loom, put it aside for later, and once again you'll need to make 3 more for a total of 4. So pause the video and go ahead and do that. Come back when you're done. Now we'll make the ears. For the ears, we're taking a single band and looping it 3 times on a hook. And we'll do that twice. Take a single band and looping it 3 times. Now taking 2 single bands and pulling the loops onto the 2 single bands and getting it onto a hook. And now we're taking a single band and getting the ears right onto that single band. So that's one ear. Let's make another one, same thing. Taking a single band, looping it 3 times on a hook, another single, 3 times, taking 2 single bands and pulling the loops carefully onto the 2 single, and then getting the other side onto a hook like that, and getting these onto a single band. And we'll put it aside to add to our body later. Let's make the eyes, taking a single black band or whatever color you want, looping it 4 times on a hook. Let's do that for the other eye, taking another single black and looping it 4 times. And since this is going on the white of my face, taking a white single band and pulling it on to a white band. Those are my eyes. Putting it aside for later. Let's do the tail. Same thing, we're taking 2 single bands and we're coming down. I'll come down 9 times. You can come down longer if you want with 2 single bands for your tail to be longer. So that's 4 for me. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to cap it off, looping it 3 times. go under the cap band, grab the bottom 2 bands, and loop up and onto itself. And if you want to take a single and double it, you can make the tail thinner. And use a little bit less rubber band, that's up to you. So that's my tail. I'll take it off the loom. And we'll put it aside for later. Now let's make our monkey. Taking 2 single bands, like my other 3D creations, we're going to stretch it from one peg, cross it in the center, and looping it to the other peg across from it. Repeat this 2 more times, starting from one peg, cross in the center, and covering, stretching it to the peg across from it. We're going to cover 6 pegs. That's what it should look like. That was row number 1. For row number 2, we're taking 2 whites, and this is the front of the face. So we're taking 2 white, looping it from the first center to the first side pegs, like that. And the rest is the back of the head. Side of the face, we're taking 4 pink bands, and your monkey can be whatever color you want. And covering the 6 pegs, creating a hexagon. Go under, grab the bottom 2 bands, and loop up and over to the center. Push it down. Row number 3, taking the eyes and looping it from the first side to the first center peg, repeating for the other side. And we'll add the ears on the side first and second peg. Repeat for the other ear. Make sure the ears are pointing outwards, and then taking 2 single bands, covering the back of the head. So row number 3, loop the bottom 2 bands up and over to the center. Leaving 2 loops per peg on our loom. Push it down. That was row number 3. We looped up all the bands, leaving the 2 loops. Now let's add the mouth. Taking a single band, skip some pegs down, and we'll come diagonally like that on our loom. Push it down, try not to let it overlap. That's what it should look like. Now taking a single white, twist, double, and making my face white, and looping it down my loom on both sides, taking a single, twist, double it, and looping it on both sides like that. Taking 2 single white bands and coming diagonally in for our mouth. Repeat for the other side, like that. And now taking 2 single white bands and coming down the center. So that's what your mouth should look like. taking a single band, we're going to cap this by looping it 3 times. And now take a single band, stretch it out, twist, double it, and we'll place it there from that peg to hold our mouth together, keeping it tight. We're going to go under the cap band now, grab the top 2 bands, and loop up. It should go to the center and onto itself, like that. Now reach in that center, next peg up, grabbing the top single white and looping it to the side. Mine went to the left. Go back in, grab the last white band and looping it to the right. So that's what it should look like. Go back in at the bottom where the cap is, grab the next top 2 bands, and when pulling it, mine's coming to the left. Repeat for the other one. Go in and looping it to the other side. Now we're going to pull the bottom 2 bands there and loop up and onto itself, and repeat on the left side. There's our mouth. Let's take the bottom loops off of our loom, and don't take the side ones off yet. So what our mouth should look like on our loom. Let's take these loops onto our hook, and there should be 6 on both sides, so get them all on our hook. And if you want to use a separate hook or holding instrument, that's fine. We're taking it off the loom and reattaching it on the first side pegs on both sides. So remember, there are 6 loops per sides. So let's very carefully transfer it. This is the front of the face going this way. So carefully transferring those loops onto the first side peg. Pull the other side around the top center peg and looping the other 6 onto the other side of our loom very carefully, like that. My face is on my loom. Now let's loop the rest, taking a single band, and I'm going to cover the rest of my pegs. Right there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 bands. So now we're going to go on the first side pegs to the very bottom 2 bands. We're going to loop it up and over to the center. That's what it should look like. Let's repeat on the other side, grabbing the bottom 2 bands and loop it up and over to the center. And let's repeat for the other 3 pegs, looping the bottom 2 bands up and over. Push it down. That was row number 4. And row number 5, we're going to expand. So pulling these 2 bands off of the center 3rd peg and moving it to the center 4th. And now we want to pull the loops off of the side 2nd peg, and we want to pull the one that's attached to the first side peg, and this one's attached to this one, and we'll loop it to the 3rd side peg. Same thing on the other side, getting a loop off, and we want the one that's attached to this, and I see this one is attached to this peg, so let's set it aside. Now grab this other loop off of the second peg, and it's definitely attached to this one, and we'll pull it to the third side peg. And let's place this back onto the second side peg. So now we've expanded it to 8 pegs. Row number 5, we're taking 2 white bands for the top of our face, and now the rest we'll cover with pink bands. Let's push the other bands down first so we're not confused. Taking a single band covering the other 6 pegs. Now we're going to go under on the first 2 side pegs. You're going to grab all those loops. There should be the 6 plus the 1 pink one, leaving only 2 bands left on the first side peg. So we're going to pull all that, hold your bands down, and pulling it up and over to the center, so you have only 2 bands left. And the second and third peg, we're looping only 1 band over because we expanded it. So there should be 2 bands left on each peg. Continue around your loom. Repeat for this one, pulling all those loops up and over, leaving only 2 loops on the first side peg. For the first center peg, we're going to reach in past the 2 loops that we just put on, inside the mouthpiece there, pull it back, grabbing the bottom 2 loops and pulling it up and over and onto the center of our creation. So essentially our mouth is still looped onto there, and we have 2 loops left. For row number 5, onto that center peg. For row number 6, taking a single white band, covering the center first to the side first peg, like that. Let's add the arms, getting our arms, and putting the loops onto the first to second peg for both sides. Let's do the other arm, getting our loops on the first to the second peg on this side. Our arms are on. Now taking our single band, covering the rest of our pegs. Once again, loop the bottom 2 bands up and over to the center. The mouthpiece, the center first peg, very carefully go under the 2 loops that we just put on, grabbing the bottom 2, and don't grab the mouthpiece, and loop it up and over to the center. Push it down. That was row number 6. Row number 7, we're going to do the 2 whites again, and then the 6 pink, or whatever color you want your monkey to be, and loop the bottom 2 up and over. Once again, be careful with this center first peg. Make sure you pull the bottom 2 loops up, not pulling the mouth pieces up. Now for row number 8 and 9, we'll use all the same color. So I'm using all pink, covering all 8 pegs. And row number 9, we'll add the tail and the hind legs. Row number 9, I'm going to put our legs on the same first and second pegs for both sides. And if you want, you can put the legs on these 2 loops on the first 2 pegs. It's up to you how you want the legs to be positioned. You may think this is too wide, so instead of having it on this single loop, just get these 4 loops and pulling these loops off of the first side pegs and putting the legs onto there. So my legs are on first and second peg on both sides. Now taking 6 more pink rubber bands and covering the rest of my pegs, and then looping the bottom 2 up and over. And after we loop this, we can add the tail. Push it down, and there's my tail, getting the loops onto my hook. And I'm going to add it on the 4th center 2 pegs, so getting those loops off of my loom and attaching the tail, and then reattaching those 2 loops onto the 4th center peg. Now let's take them off the loom, getting the loops onto a hook, and we'll go clockwise. Just go around your loom, getting those loops onto our hook. Careful not to let it come off. Like that. And we can pull our monkey off the loom. There he is. And now let's stuff him. I have some pink bands, and you can use cotton balls if you want to. And I'm going to stuff him so that way his head and his body is a little bit separated. So try to do your best. You can split out your cotton ball, or you can use 2 cotton balls. So just get your bands. I'm using pink to try to match so I can't see the color through the holes in them. So I'm trying to separate some of the bands for the head and some for the body. You can use as many as you want or as little as you want. There he is. If you think he's too fat, take some out. Now taking a single band and pulling those loops onto a single band and tying it off in a slip knot. And tuck in your slip knot band. And fix his face. You don't want him to look kind of funny like that. Just pull the bands so it's even and it's not too loose. Pull out his ears and his arms. and maneuver his body. So there's your little monkey. You can tie his arms together with the C-clip if you want to make him hug something. I hope you like him. Thanks for watching.